Actually, where my hanger, the guy across right over from me, he was packing up his hanger. I said, "Where are you going?"
Caitlyn Jenner, who is now running to be the governor of California, was on Fox News with Sean Hannity and gave a wildly out-of-touch interview. So I got a few clips here. Let's start with the first one.
My friends are leaving California. Actually, where my hanger, the guy across right over from me, he was packing up his hanger. I said, "Where are you going?" And he says, "I'm moving to Sedona, Arizona. I can't take it here anymore. I can't walk down the streets and see the homeless. I don't want to leave."
Oh my God. Yeah, my neighbor, when you go out, you see your neighbor, he's packing up his hanger after a long private flight around the state for no reason, just felt like going for a flight, packing up his hanger, discussing how I'm going to get out of here because I can't stand seeing homeless people. Just the typical conversations regular Americans have. The complete disconnect here is truly remarkable. This interview, by the way, took place in Caitlyn Jenner's own airplane hangar in Malibu, California. So here she is, her and her friends, a bunch of airplane owners, complaining about seeing homeless people, as opposed to maybe discussing why those people are homeless, what you can do to help them, discuss the situations they're in, how they're struggling. But no, my friends, me and my airplane flying friends, we can't stand seeing homeless people. Wow. Let me get to the next clip here. To set this up properly, Caitlyn Jenner says she supports banning trans girls from girls' sports teams. So this next clip references this interview.
I stick with my statements that I made. I think we have to make sure that the integrity of girls' sports is there. I think that's extremely important. But there's more to it than just what I said, because I just said biological boys in sports. There's more to it than that. And I think in the future I will explain more of that. But for me, as a trans woman, I think role models are extremely important for young people. Trans issues people struggle with big time.
Incredible. Caitlyn Jenner here discussing how role models are important for young trans girls. I agree. This statement is mere seconds after Caitlyn Jenner discusses how she supports banning trans girls from girls' sports teams. This is, before I get more into this specific issue, because I know there's a lot of reactionary reactions to that idea. People just do zero research and think they know what they're talking about. It's really incredible. But before I get into that, this is just another example of conservative media propping up somebody to attack their own identity. So they do this with people like Dave Rubin, who's gay. They prop him up as an ex-liberal who's gay, so they can use him as a tool to attack the left. They do the same with Candace Owens, a black woman. They use her to attack black people. And now they're using Caitlyn Jenner to attack trans individuals. Conservatives do this over and over and over again. They pick out the one person who's willing to sell out or who is incredibly privileged and has no idea, like Caitlyn Jenner. They use that person as a tool to attack the marginalized of their own identity. It really is amazing. And let me just start with the most obvious here, the fact that Caitlyn Jenner, of course, is a hypocrite. Caitlyn Jenner to participate in a women's golf tournament. 2016. In 2016, Caitlyn Jenner was part of a women's golf tournament. Yet, here she is discussing how young trans girls should not be allowed on girls' sports teams. Now, let's get into more of the actual data, science, information around this topic, as opposed to just, spouting off a bunch of talking points that have not been researched at all. So Scientific American here. I'm going to link to all this below the video as well, so you can read through each of these articles if you want to get more on this. But they say here, policies permitting transgender athletes to play on teams that match their gender identity are not new. The Olympics have had trans-inclusive policies since 2004, but a single openly transgender athlete has yet to even qualify. California passed a law in 2013 that allows trans youth to compete on the team that matches their gender identity. There have been no issues. U Sports, Canada's equivalent to the U.S.'s National Collegiate Athletic Association, has allowed transgender athletes to compete with the team that matches their identity for the past 2 years. Often missing from the culture war aspect of the debate is a focus on the type of questions that Dr. Eric Villain has spent much of his career researching. Villain, a pediatrician and geneticist who studies sex differences in athletes, says there are no good faith reasons to limit transgender women's participation in sports, especially at the high school level. Villain has advised both the International Olympic Committee and the NCAA and says these laws generally aren't based in scientific evidence, but rather, quote, target women who have either a different biology or simply look different. There are physical traits that cannot be changed through hormone replacement, such as height, which is critical in many sports, including basketball and volleyball. But human bodies aren't cleanly split into two distinct types like store mannequins. In my own social circle, I know a 5-foot trans woman and a 6'4" genderqueer person who was assigned female at birth. It would be odd to ban trans women on the basis of height while not holding unusually tall cis women to the same standard. So again, I will link to all of these articles below the video. You can read through the science, read through the data, the experiences. Obviously here, these bills that have been popping up all over the U.S. trying to ban trans girls from sports teams in grade school, high school, completely ridiculous, not based on any science, any data. There is no epidemic of trans athletes dominating sports. There's clear differences within genders when it comes to the ability of these athletes already. So this whole debate is simply about the culture war and ginning up support from a right-wing reactionary base that does not care to actually look at the science, the data, and definitely doesn't care about human life. And Caitlyn Jenner here, despite being a trans woman, is spouting the exact same BS talking points. Last thing here, this is a short clip, but we get back to the plane.
Caitlyn Jenner, thank you for being with us.
It was my pleasure. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Sean.
Good to talk to you. Good to see you again.
Now, we're going to go find my plane around the corner. I'm going to take you for a flight.
I'm going right, wheels up any minute. All right.
How relatable. At the end of the interview, Caitlyn Jenner offers Sean Hannity a flight on her plane. Wow. I'm going to keep an eye on this race, and I really have no idea. I don't know enough about what's going on in California to know how this is all going to play out. But at the very least, you can see that there is a candidate here who is completely out of touch with reality.